Welcoming to episode 8 of Your Story. We now call it Your Story. My story is your story. Your story is my story. That's the long story. That was in episode 7. Unfortunately, those on this camera over here at Will Hun, Hun, lost the last episode because the interface changed on my iMac compared to my Mac Pro laptop, and the Google exceeded the limit. And a long story, we missed out on one of our camera angles, so you'll have to go to Bill at R19. It was supposed to be Bill Star 19, but I don't know. Somewhere back in the olden days when I started doing YouTubes, it was Bill at R19. And look at that YouTube channel for Your Story Episode 7, Imagineering iPhones. You'll also might want to check out one of my best favorites from the year 2010 in July. Might have been July 4th or 5th. It was Mickey Mouse Money, which is sort of this topic today: imagineering the future of money, imagineering the future of enterprise. Before, when we talked about iPhones, we talked about a device that would allow us to connect with anybody and everybody throughout the world. That could get quite scary. Who do you connect with? How do you filter people? If you're important people at the top of the world, how do you connect with the little guy and the big guy? Who do you connect with? Why do you connect with them? It's a network beyond your mind. Actually, it's a network of all minds. And that's where it gets to requiring, almost compelling a change to a new world order. And that's scary to a lot of people, but it is the possibility of creating a single enterprise, a single bank of us that will fund this new world order, and almost makes this story biblical. But we won't go into the biblical aspects except to say this. It's said, and he will rebuke many people. Well, somebody had to do it, so I started rebuking when I offered to buy the world. In fact, within the context of my offer was my plan. And a smart person might think, what if we could create an enterprise of all of us and buy out all the nations? For it said he will rebuke many people and judge among the nations. And I have rebuked. And in 2006, when I canceled or proposed canceling your bad news channels and proposed that we start creating our own good news, well, I sued all of the dear leaders of Earth on behalf of all of the people. Yes, I submitted a lawsuit of all the dear leaders. I offered to buy you out. I offered to sue you out. Well, in one of the earlier stories, when we were recounting the spring of '05, when my partner Jim said, holy fuck, we could hold worldwide elections. That's right, he said, holy fuck, we could hold worldwide elections. And by the way, that wasn't just once a month or once a year or once every 4 years. We could do it every day if we wanted to. I don't know if we want, except we might create like American Idols on steroids across all the fields. What are we going to do for jobs? We'll create channels for everything, contests for everything. We could create infinite amounts of content. Well, that's how you blow up Hollywood. And, well, that was part of my plan to blow up Hollywood. Turn your reality into our best movie. That changes the dynamics of what you consider content. Because this movie of the future of us is bigger and crazier than any reality. And that's why I could actually be crazy. You didn't need me for this idea. You need the catalyst for an Illuminati conspiracy. A conspiracy of angels who conspired together to create our own future enterprise, to create the underpinning technologies, to create a miracle of the future of us. And perhaps over the last few years, conspired together to let your reality crash, as it was destined to do and is destined to do, because a world not united will not stand. We must go beyond the imaginary nation of the United States of America to the imaginary enterprise of the United States of the world. And I say enterprise, but because we must cancel political nations and replace them by an enterprise, we the people of earth, that biz, owned by the people, for the people, and with the people as the customers, the shareholders and the employees, with the people in one enterprise where we're all working for one common just cause of us. That's a crazy idea. But if you can come along with the best plan for all the richest people on the planet to become greater, to become founding fathers of the future of us, a plan where we marry the concepts of modern enterprise and restructure the entire enterprise of the planet, and a balance of power where enterprise, that's why I said back then it was just sort of a metaphor. The number 17 isn't relevant. It's the balance that's important. 10 business bulls, 7 political heads. The heads and the bulls work together, but the politics of the situation is the politics of the profit of all the people of all the world. And, well, you have no concept of having one World Bank backed by all the assets of the world, back the oil, the gold, the castles, the houses. We could create an enterprise that allows us to invest in further enterprises, build new castles for us to, well, we could just consider them movie sets for our future reality. What lies beyond Camelot 999? What lies beyond, well, the good part of Woodstock 999? What lies beyond every imaginary future you might imagine for humanity? What lies beyond that we could achieve within the next few years that perhaps we've already achieved? What lies beyond when we create an enterprise of us and we trade in your wealth for wealth in one giant enterprise and rise the boats of all from the bottom to the top? But basically, the needs of the top are different than the needs of the bottom. See, he said, the meek shall inherit you. And that when he returned, when the Spirit of Christ returned, that he would separate between the sheep and the goats. Well, in the olden days, and perhaps many of you today think of a goat as an animal, but within modern parlance, we now know of as gold as the greatest of all time. We must pursue and advance our greed, and we must take care of our sheep, because together we are one flock of us. Together we are one enterprise. We must employ trickle-up economics, not just trickle-down, because it's a fountain of wealth. It's a fountain of infinite possible wealth. You can't afford to build on top of your mortgages and your nations filled with debt. When we cancel the debt of nations, when we create one world new money, a virtual money owned by all of us, trackable and traceable, well, where do the criminals go when the money's all electronic? Where does corruption hide when we track all the trade and all the currencies exchange? Those who would be corrupt, well, we would put you out of business. And those corrupt businesses that hurt our people, we would put out of business, because there is no just profit when the profit comes at the expense in lives of people. And so we must rebalance our whole balance along the concept of Maslow's pyramid, providing for the basic needs of all of our people, providing for the housing and safety and health needs of all of our people. And then from there, well, we might have jobs, but we might have to spread around the jobs. We might have to say 1 day a week for a week's worth of pay.
We might have to have more jobs for the same thing. We could do it many different ways. Because once you realize we're in a future of creation together, where we're sharing our world and building a better world for all of us, building out a virtual Disneyland throughout the planet. Can you imagine that? Why not? Why can't we? What amount of money could not we spend to bring a planet peace on Earth? Why couldn't we build 1,000 Dubai towers throughout the planet? Well, we can't afford it without destroying the practice of war, the practice of killing, the practice of terrorism, the practice of crime against people. And we must have justice throughout the world to make and achieve this. But within the context of the technology we talked about in the iPhone, we not only have the ability to create that justice, we have the ability to connect our people virtually, in real time, across the planet, in virtual meetings. We have the ability to create councils of people to lead each industry, to lead each part of our enterprise, to determine what is the best tasks, what are the best projects, what are the best strategies, where we might advance the prosperity of all the people. And while in this enterprise, there would be no need for Wall Street, because your best investment would be in we the people of Earth.biz. And, well, it would own everything, so there would be nothing to trade. We'd put lots of people out of jobs. We'd self-insure ourselves all over the place. Well, we wouldn't need all those insurance agents. We wouldn't need lots of things when we had one directed enterprise connected directly to the people, offering the absolute best choices available for that person's place and time in the world. And, well, it's hard to imagine an order like that, a new reality like that, but that's the reality that I've imagined, and there's no reason we can't create it. In fact, it's the only salvation we have. It's the only way that we can save ourselves from an imminent destruction on our planet. There's only one choice: peace on Earth and justice. And I never thought, when I first declared my lawsuit on behalf of all the people, a planet malpractice suit, a class action of all the people against all their leaders, I never really imagined at that time how unjust even those who might, in the state of this United States, declare system just, how unjust our delivery system for justice really is. How tainted justice itself is tainted by money. And, well, you just can't afford justice in America. And that's a crime. When you can't afford justice in America, and America is not prepared to pay through its political institutions to guarantee you the justice that you constitutionally should have a right to, then where are we now? What lies beyond this? You can leave with those questions